Background's best stocks in the market list. We said 3 names just popped. One is forming a golden cross. Which one is that?
Yes. Well, here's the one that I want to talk about. Targa. I got to do this fast. Targa, TRGP. So we wrote this up yesterday. If some of these charts look like they're going crazy, like we literally published this at 10 in the morning yesterday. So I'm doing the best I can, guys. 2% dividend yield, expecting 22% cash flow growth. They report in 2 weeks. So for this quarter, traders can use the 50-day as a trailing stop. It's about 183 to 185 is that area. The stock is a little bit extended now, breaking through 200. RSI is tame at 72, not crazy overbought. I want to get to WW Granger. This is tools, equipment, supplies. None of this is disruptable by AI. They reported this morning, stocks up 4%. Again, we talked about it yesterday. They just returned $1.5 billion to shareholders last year via dividends and repurchases. They'll do the same thing again this year. Meaningful resistance at 1,100 and at 1,200. So maybe we just saw the first level break. The next level will be the next challenge. But then beyond that, there are no sellers in this stock. Last one, Corteva. This is literally seeds, like planting seeds. Also has a pesticide business, and I think they're going to spin that off and be 2 companies. Either way, breakout mode, raise their full year guidance. Cash flow is explosive growth once again after a long time of nothing. Traders should watch for a move above 75, which I guess we're approaching right now on good volume. That's your trigger. I think you could buy it. You see that golden cross, Judge? To answer your question, you have a 50-day crossing above the 200. What that tells you is that the buyers are taking control of this chart. You see the accumulation since that low in September. No reason why this one can't keep going.
All right. If nothing else, today's price action in many names, especially software, and we told you some of the exchange-related names, we're trying to understand how AI is going to impact a whole large group of stocks.
Yes.
And then on top of it, anytime there's any question, drama, perceived controversy at the very top of the food chain with an Open or a NVIDIA, you're going to have maybe a sell first, respond later reaction.
Yeah, and it reflects the fact that the areas of conviction within this trade have narrowed so substantially. It was memory, and it was Google. I mean, essentially, those are where everybody's panicking into those 2 areas because it was perceived that that was safe from a lot of other things. So I think you can take Jensen Huang's comments about their close ties and nothing going on here with OpenAI, and then you can react by saying, well, anything attached to OpenAI's ecosystem is actually what's suspect in this market right now. And not only that, Jensen has had nothing but enthusiastic things to say about his business in the future for the last 6 months, and the stock has gone nowhere in 6 months. So I think you can kind of believe in the long term, this is where we're going, but have we already paid for it up front on a lot of different fronts? And then, of course, you bring up the point of these moats drying up all over the market, or at least perceived that they're drying up. And it's not just, I don't like saying fintech. I don't think fintech's the thing, but PayPal, Visa, MasterCard have traded badly. They bounced yesterday, not today. So I do think that basically everyone's focused on the negative impact of AI, not really sure where to grab for safety. I mean, look, we're barely off the high.
Sure.
We've crossed 6,900 in the S&P 17 times in the last 37 days. We're stuck here, but 7% of the Nasdaq's making a new 52-week low today, and the market's only 3% off its high, so there's destruction underneath.
Well, because there's another story to tell that has people still bullish, believing in the uptrend. I'll see you on closing bell.
Okay. Here it is, folks. You can see the size of this candle is big, meaning we opened higher. This is where we closed yesterday right here. We opened above it, briefly making a slightly higher high than yesterday, and then we have tanked to the downside, eclipsing the gap down yesterday that we saw. So this, again, would be one of those reversal, nasty, almost engulfing candles that you never really want to see. And in fact, a good example of this would be here you have a red candle with a reversal candle where we closed above that high, and look, we went straight up for the next 4 to 5 days. Here, you would expect the opposite, likely down 4 to 5 more days. I still have a short-term, just short-term price target on the S&P 500 of 67.20. There's a big gap fill there. Now, longer term, do I think we're going lower? Yeah, I still think we're going to go ultimately down to about 61.40 on the S&P, which is this major high pivot from last year, late last year in December. Now, the biggest concern continues to be this white trend line here. Notice again how the market started here. This was in the April lows when the tariff announcements were hitting in 2025. We had this great move up and this vertical move, and then it kind of petered out, came in, bounced just like a ball, bounced, broke. And then you can see what happened. We retraced to what's called the scene of the crime. Essentially, this was support, broke. It now becomes resistance, right? And what happens? It gets rejected. And then we got this great up day yesterday, and then nope. We're still below this level. It's a favorable to the downside move, and that's what we are seeing here. Now, a couple other things to take note of. You have to go to the weekly chart to see it in full, but here we have the parallel. And as long as we've been, like literally, you can go back here, guys. You can go back to October. And even back in October, which is many months ago, I was saying the S&P has virtually no upside left because of this yellow up ascending trend line, right? When you have a trend line that's so powerful that it literally marks the COVID low, the bear market lows of 2022, and the liberation sell-off low right here, when you have a trend line like that, folks, and then it marks the bull market high, you have to respect it. You have no other choice. And listen, obviously you have a choice, but the idea is that it is so powerful that you have to respect it. You have to, again, take it into account. And so ultimately, what we have going on here is a weekly chart that looks like it's about ready to take a major dump. The S&P 500 daily chart having a big move down here. Ultimately, again, if we go to the Nasdaq composite, let's take a look at the Nasdaq comp here. The same sort of formation. We have this trend line right here, and this breakdown, retrace to the scene of the crime, and rejection. And look at the size of that down candle, now down 1.9% on the NASDAQ 100. Wow, that is a major drop here, at least at this point. And really what you're also following here, I want to show you this. This is one more thing that could add another nail to the coffin of the market. You have a low, higher low, and so far a higher low. If we take out this low, that's where things get very, very nasty in the near term. And again, we start seeing the decline accelerating. And I do continue to think this, right? If we look at the commonalities, silver and gold got crushed last Friday. Over the weekend, Bitcoin. In other words, it's like a wildfire that is spreading. What's the asset that is still at all-time highs or close? The stock market. Again, I think we're on the verge of at least a minimum of 10%. And ultimately, if we go back to the daily chart on the S&P and we look at that target that I had, let's take a look here. If we look at from the highs to where that target is right here, right? So we go to the highs. Where was the all-time high? The last all-time high was right there. That would be a 12.5% correction, 12.5% correction on the S&P 500. And that would be a major support. Now, again, do I think the markets will go to all-time highs after that? I doubt that. I still think what we know from this parallel is that at some point, even if we get a big bounce, like let's say we fall here, right? So let's drag this over here. Let's draw this in. So let's say we kind of go like this and we come down and we come into this level. Then the markets likely get a bounce, but I think we make a lower high. And eventually, you guys know what I'm thinking. We come back in just like the parallel has shown us. Boom, boom, right? And then Then it comes up and hit here because the tariffs went up. So we should be headed back down there. And that's what I would anticipate on the S&P. And you can see this in a lot of stocks. I think the key is, folks, the tea leaves, the breadcrumbs, they are everywhere. What do I mean by that? Well, look at NVIDIA, look at Broadcom, look at these trillion-dollar semiconductors that led the market when we were going up in 2025. Let's take a look. NVIDIA, look at this chart. This is a nasty chart, guys. Okay. Why is it nasty? Well, you kind of have a head and shoulders here, right? You can make a case that this is a head and shoulders right here. And we are now coming into what we would refer to as essentially the neckline. Right down here would be the neckline. This breaks. You can do a measurement of this high. Let's do that here. I'm going to take away this so we can kind of see it more clearly. We do a measurement of this down here. That's a 20% drop. And we drop it down to where it breaks. And we are headed all the way back to $130 on NVIDIA. Then you look at Broadcom. Broadcom's getting smoked today. Look at this drop on Broadcom. Now, Broadcom will have support at this key level of 306. But again, look at how weak this is. Your high was back in December for Broadcom. And again, this nasty candle today is doing some major damage. Now, you look at stocks like Microsoft. Microsoft, supposedly one of the greatest companies, $3.5 trillion in market cap. And what is it doing today? Getting crushed. But what has it done here? I mean, look at this. How far is Microsoft off its all-time highs, which was back here in, I guess that was July or so? It's down right now. It is down 26%. And to get to my target, it's actually only another 3 to 4% here. But this will be a major bounce level on the chart of Microsoft. And then you can go to Meta. I mean, Meta here, take a look. It had those good earnings. It couldn't even fill the gap. And look at it come back in. We can keep going on. And remember, this week, we're going to see big earnings from Alphabet as well as Amazon. And those are going to be key. And also, we're going to see AMD, which could be a major player. I mean, this could be huge depending on what AMD reports. AMD, again, if you look at this chart, look at this trend line. So I do think if it gets a pop, max upside 275. If it starts to drop, I don't think it gets there on earnings, but 165 gap fill right there would be a sizable level to watch. And again, this is all on the back of seemingly an economy. We actually saw the ISM number yesterday showing some improvement in manufacturing. You know, we have a new Fed chair nominee, granted, maybe not as dovish as the market would want, but at least it retains the supposed independence of the Federal Reserve, if you even believe in that. But ultimately, the markets continue to be on this doorstep, even maybe beginning to fall off their cliff. We looked at the S&P. We looked at the Nasdaq, folks. This is where it is. All right, I'm going to get going, guys, but pay attention. This market is literally at death's door in terms of a much bigger decline. I warned you guys about silver. I warned you guys about Bitcoin back in October when it was at 129,000. I'm sending alarm bells left and right out about the stock market. You guys have a good...
NVIDIA and OpenAI are fighting. So much so, when they asked Jensen, and I think he was probably in New York, are you going to invest $100 billion into OpenAI? He said, I never made that promise. We were invited to invest up to that amount. I'm actually going to invest this money into XAI. For those you who don't know, that's the investing equivalent.
Alleged. The last part is alleged.
Allegedly.
Okay. Thank
Allegedly.
you. Okay.
That's the equivalent of saying, I'm out on this player. I want to draft this player in the summertime. I think Oracle could fall to 113.72. Do I think it's a good long-term pick? Yes. Will they be fine in 5 years? Yes. Can they get the gains that NVIDIA got 2 years ago? Emphatically, I've always said no. That reversal from 336 down to where it is now is too much for me. They're down 40%. Good legacy company. But the question you have to ask, are they better than Microsoft, Palantir, TSM, AMD, NVIDIA, Eli Lilly, Amgen? No. SanDisk, Seagate? No.
Easy. Here's the other part to it, right? Just to add a little more context to it. So traditionally, it's a software company, right? And we've seen the hardest hit sector of the past 4 months for sure, definitely in 2026, has been software, whether it's Salesforce, whether it's ServiceNow, Snowflake, they've all been hit. And so they're not excluded from that, right? Here's the real question when you think about OpenAI. Is it in everyone's best interest to make sure that it succeeds is the real question. Because not only is Microsoft involved, Microsoft is invested, AMD has investment, NVIDIA has a huge, outside of $100 billion, they still have a heavy investment. We said AMD, Broadcom, all the heavy hitters, these $1 trillion companies, all are invested in OpenAI or have partnered with OpenAI in some sort or another. SoftBank is invested, right? And Oracle is invested. So you're talking about, multi-trillion-dollar companies that are all invested in the future growth of OpenAI. Not to say that they haven't invested in other AIs as well, but their investment there is still, it's pretty significant.
For sure. But the thing that we talked about before is Sam Altman being the detriment and then his ego. Yeah. So like, I like the interview you guys did with Jalen. Shotty, you make the point of slowing the game down, right, and finding your pockets. Sam is the person that's forcing the shots and fucking up the flow of the game. So much so that he had to lead, and everyone's saying, man, Anthropic looks really attractive. Why? Because they're going to set a ball screen. Pin down, they're going to hit you right in the pocket to hit a great shot. They found a way, and even with Microsoft, it's one of my favorite companies all time. They haven't found a way to make money off of Copilot. Now they're going to lean on Claude a lot more for some of those developments there, which all the rumblings you hear is going back to Elon, going back to Jensen, going back to Microsoft. The issue is Sam.
Yeah.
Like, Shadi, let me ask you, if I was erratic for 5 years, how long will we be partners? At some point, you got to say, even if it's profitable, the headache's not worth it. Sam is a prime, he's the Rodman with less performance. And they have to go to court soon. They have to go to, like, I'm here to be real in 2026. If y'all don't like it, don't matter. You deserve to be wealthy, you deserve to be rich. But I'm not going to lie to you. He's underperforming.
I'm with you. I think I agree to the point where they've lost direction. Like, what is their thing, right? They've watched Gemini come and clearly be the new favorite. But these things happen fast, right? Like a year ago, we weren't saying that. And we are saying that, and they've proven to do that. In fact, I sent something in the chat. I'm like, yo, they're actually spiking the football now. Like now they're just really showing you what they always had the capability of doing.
Yeah.
Anthropic has come into space. XAI has come into space. So they have lost a little bit of direction. Jensen spoke today at, maybe like 2 hours ago, and he was saying, I think the conversation that I had was taken out of context. I actually enjoy working with Sam. So that'll be interesting. He's going to have an interview tomorrow with Kramer. So I'll be listening to that very intently. But
for sure,
I'm with you. I think what is the direction of OpenAI at this point? I'm not sure. Yes, he has to go to comfortable. Elon is on his neck. So
as he should be if he funded it.
Yeah. So this is
a promise.
This is all part of the Oracle story, right? The uncertainty we're talking about OpenAI. When you say that you're investing $500 billion in infrastructure to make sure that this OpenAI development can go through, then that's how you get tied in, right? Because that's a large amount. So I just think not too big to fail, but it's in everybody's interest to have some success.
Well, they're all investing in each other, and that's why people think that it might be an AI bubble. Because it's like if I give Ian $1,000, he gives you $1,000, and you give me $1,000. What are we doing?
And now it's 2,000 you give to me and I swing it back. It's like only a few of these companies are even exceptional. Even Oracle. Oracle's a needed company, but let's be honest, if Trump was not in office, people wouldn't have bet on Oracle.
Palantir. What is the end of year price target for Palantir? What is the outlook for Palantir? Palantir was in the news recently for having surveillance technology allegedly.
Oh, thank you.
In Minnesota, they made news for
allegedly in Venezuela as well.
Gaza Strip.
Alleged.
I'm not sure if that one was alleged.
Can you turn my camera off?
Alleged.
Blackout early. Big alleged.
What? Maybe. I don't know.
So price target. what's the outlook for Palantir?
You want me to give a positive price target after you said all that? They had a $1 billion quarter. Once again, morally, I don't love this company. I do see they're going to fall back. I think eventually they're going to fall back to 137.89. By end of year, they should be at 243.39.